Welcome back, everybody. It's Mark with ExoticCar PlayPlace coming at you again today to have a little discussion. We're going to do a quick preview and a comparison from my lovely E60 M5 with the brand new F90 M5. I just so happen to have a closer look at the M5, 2018 M5 this weekend, and I loved it. I loved a lot of the things about it. And I'm going to make some comparisons and talk about some of the things and the tricks that the F90 or the new M5 has up its sleeves versus the M5 that I'm standing beside, which is the E60. And we're Okay, so if you guys haven't already heard, the new 2018 BMW M5 has a lot of tricks up his sleeve. The question becomes, is it that much more desirable M car than the predecessor, definitely the F10, which is the one right before it, but I'm specifically talking about the E60 because the E60 brings a whole different dynamic. It is really the last of that breed with a normally aspirated, high revving, high strung V10, 10 cylinders of screaming RPM coming out of this car. The F10 came along, it did a lot of great things. It was faster than the E60, but it lacked a lot of the spectacular, the edginess that you would get with the E60. Now along comes the F90. We're talking about the brand new M5 2018 model edition. Is that car back to the roots of the M cars? That's the ultimate question. And as far as I'm concerned, this is as good as the M5 gets. Let's start and do some quick rundown features and specs on the new M5. Number one, 600 horsepower versus the 507 located in this car. It also has all-wheel drive for the first time in an M5 car. But the trick is that M5 is actually switchable and you're able to deactivate it and turn it into a rear-wheel drive tire-munching monster. So that's another little trick up its sleeve. Now there's other little things and we're going to talk about that. So 600 horsepower, 550 some odd foot-pounds of torque, 0 to 60 in 3.2 seconds. That car is as fast as the old McLaren F1. How about that for a spectacular piece? Now with that car, you also have a lot of the creature comforts. Of course, it has fully adjustable suspension. A lot of the ride settings, you've got the economical, you've got sport and sport plus. Outside of that, there's a lot of other things going on the inside. Now, sadly, if I can say, that's where I think BMW kind of missed the boat a little bit, in my opinion, because the E60, as you all know, in certain markets, you could get the car with a manual gearbox. Then along came the F10, and that car was also primarily a dual clutch transmission, or you could still get it in small numbers. There was a manual gearbox available for that car. Now, lo and behold, the new F90 M5 for 2018 only comes with an 8-speed automatic transmission. The brand new 2018 and newer M5 is going to dominate over the E60. It's actually going to dominate over the F10, which is already faster than the E60. So we know it has spectacularly fast acceleration, top speed rated at 189 miles per hour. The question is, will it ever hit the ultimate top speed that has been known to be achieved by the E60? Yes, it has more horsepower, but in the F10, we've already seen that it is not able to achieve the same top end that you get from the E60. Largely because the torque band of a turbocharged engine doesn't give you that peak. It sometimes doesn't have enough jam and enough torque to push you at the top end. It has lots of mid-range thrust, but sometimes it lacks that last ounce of power you need to push to the top atmospheric levels of speed. Now, aside from that, we're going to talk about some of the specific details. We know it's faster than this, but let's look at some of the things. Is it really improved over an E60? Obviously, an E60 is older generation. There's a lot of things that are starting to feel a little barbaric about it. But in a lot of ways, in my opinion, the E60 is a superior car. But let's make some comparisons here and you determine whether these things are better on the E60 M5 or better on the F90, as we were just explaining here. Now, let's move along here. Mirrors, for example. You look at the mirror on the E60, it's a pretty generic mirror. You'd have the lights on the outside. It's a typical folding mirror by BMW. Otherwise, a fairly straightforward mirror. As opposed to the F90 mirror, which has more of the, looks more typical M4 and the M3 cars. It looks more in line with that. Of course, a little bit dressed up. Now we move right along. Door handles, pretty typical, standard fare. Both cars are very similar. The F90 actually has slightly nicer handles, very similar in shape, but they've got a little extra trim. They've dolled it up a little bit. Now, moving right along, and you look on the roof of the E60, and up here, this is a nice painted surface on the E60. So looking at the roof on the E60 M5, we have a pretty traditional roof with a sunroof here as well integrated. Now this is a metal roof. There's no doubt about it. It's metal. Versus the M6 of the same generation typically had available a carbon fiber roof. Well, now the brand new M5 comes with a carbon fiber roof as well as the M6 did in this generation. So that's an improvement on the new car. So now we've talked the mirrors, the roof, the handles. What other things can we look at? So the next thing we talk about are the brakes. And the brakes on the new car are carbon ceramic. And carbon ceramic, there's no question, at the extreme levels of performance driving, carbon ceramic brakes are going to do wonders for braking performance. But did you ever hear of a lot of complaints on the older generation E60 M5 for its steel brakes? No, you didn't. Even though this thing was a healthy, sturdy monster of a car, was not particularly light, it has very, very sizable brakes that were able to maintain this monster's speed and keep this thing down to a standstill in very short order. So the brakes here were cross-drilled ventilated brakes on the E60 here, as we see right there. Very oversized, and of course they got improved over the different generations. This is an 06 model. They got slightly upgraded a year or so later. But they are very capable with very large calipers, halting this thing in very short order. Now then, if you look at the new M5, yes, it has carbon ceramic brakes with massive, massive calipers. But am I going to hear to say that steel brakes are superior to carbon ceramic brakes? I'm not going to say that. What I will tell you though, from people who already appreciate the fact that the E60 does not come short of potential maintenance pitfalls, why would you want to add another set of $20,000 brakes to that repair bill? See, these brakes will be very inexpensive to replace. You wait for, years down the road, you have to change a set of brakes on any car that's equipped with carbon ceramic brakes, then you will feel the wrath of the cost of carbon ceramic. There's no question it's a superior product in most cases, but it does come at a cost. And these steel brakes are not limited to their capability. So another thing, to be honest, I was extremely underwhelmed with the exterior styling of the new M5. I hate to say that. I was really getting excited before I even saw any of the spy shots, before the car was released. I was holding a lot of hope for some aggressive styling. And dare I say, I actually preferred the F10 much better in the styling department over the current generation M5. Now that being said, dial is back one bit. And we all know the E60 M5 is very polarizing with the headlights and the flares. Not everybody loved it. In my opinion, this is a far better looking, more aggressive car than the new M5. And I'm going to show you the body lines on this car. And if you look along the side, kind of starts right here. You have a substantial flare, as the new car has. You have a flare on the front. But then you have a more significant, a slightly more pronounced, certainly at least that's the way it looks. Maybe it's the size of the car kind of offsets that. But it looks like a more pronounced rocker panel, which makes it look more aggressive than the new car. And again, a little bit more flare in the back with a tire that fills that fender well very well. So this car here, in my opinion, with all its trimmings, actually look more aggressive than the new M5. Then going around the back, you'll notice this car is equipped with the quad exhaust tips. as the new car is as well. So there's nothing much really to report on that front. The exterior styling is very similar. Again, typical of the M5, slightly conservative, but I do feel that the E60 has a little bit sharper, crisper, more sporting lines than you find in the F90. Now there's another thing that sort of, if I dare I can say, and I know some of you are going to dispute this, are the headlights. Whoa, I know a lot of you guys love the headlights of the new cars, and a lot of you guys hate the headlights of the E60. But bear with me on this. The E60s actually had, when you turn the lights on, actually had a much more typical BMW style to them. In the new car is the LED factor. The headlights are adaptive as well as LEDs. So they're more attractive from the sharp, the crispness of the light. But in terms of the lights styling, much cleaner look here, I believe, more of the traditional BMW look, as well as the wraparound headlights are rounded off here. It's a little smoother look than you find in the F90. If you look at the new car, how they've restyled the interior, I would say they've made a lot of nice improvements. And so that to me, the grades go, the kudos goes to the new car for interior styling elements. Now, if you look in here, now we look inside this car. Now there's nothing lacking. It's a very tasteful design. I still love the look of this car. Overall, the E60 M5 is a very beautiful design, if not slightly simple. Now if you look at this, very simple dash layout, simple single panels, not a lot of busy stuff going on in here. As a matter of fact, this area here could even use a bit of a dressing. I've always wondered what this area is for. It's kind of plain looking there. So overall, the interior is very, very nicely put together. Door panels very attractive, clean, high quality look. The new car is a lot more dressed up. It's more conventional. It's more typical of the modern stuff it's more typical of the modern cars that BMW's been putting out. It has that large screen up front on the center of the dash, which some people love and hate because it's a little bit, in some opinion, it's a bit of an eyesore. But all the manufacturers are doing that now. You're seeing it from Audi and you're seeing it in BMWs. And you know what? That's a common thing that is starting to go in some of these cars. Now, if you look at some of the other styling aspects, the dash layout, yeah, it sure looks a lot busier, but everything looks more business in the new car. And I must tell you that just overall, the quality look on the interior of the new car, as well as some of the features and elements, make that car look much nicer on the inside. Although there's nothing wrong here. I love this car for its simplicity, but the new car is a little bit more dressed up. So in summary, everybody, as much as you know I love the M5, any generation M5 is fun. From the E39 to the E60 to the F10 and now of course the F90. They're all great cars in what they do. The E60 M5 I believe will always have a place in my heart, and I truly believe, in my opinion, outside of some of the maintenance reliability issues, is still the nicest M5. Yeah, it's not necessarily the fastest of the recent models, but it is plenty fast to get you in a world of hurt and a lot of trouble with the law. So I love these cars. Do I love it more than the F90? Hoping one of you great watchers out there is possibly going to lend me one of your brand new 2018 F90 M5s so I can do an extended drive and talk about really first drive impressions on that car. I'd love to get my hands on one. My first impression and comparison was simply from the visual perspective, and I felt that that's very important because after all, that's what you first see when you walk up to a car, and that's the first impression, like they say, is always a lasting impression. Make sure you give my video a like. Also, don't forget to throw a comment down there. What do you think, guys? Is that the next greatest thing, the new F90? And also, don't forget to subscribe if you're not already a subscriber to my channel. A lot of you guys have been following me lately because of my M5 content, and I really, really appreciate it, everybody. I love these cars. They're spectacular, not just because of the performance, but because they're super practical as well. Awesome cars, these M5s, and a lot of the BMW products in general. So I hope you enjoyed it. If you have not subscribed yet, please do. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to turn on your notifications as well. That's going to let you know about the next great video that's popping out. and I hope to see you real soon on the next one. Thanks again, everybody. Talk to you real soon. Bye-bye.